Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. How many Karens does it take to screw in a light bulb? None. She just threatens 6 different electricians and screams over the phone about incompetence. I get the feeling that the light bulb wasn't the only thing not screwed in tight enough. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with a turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. 2 months in the customer service job, and it finally happens. I work for the company that employs electricians for small jobs. Part of my job is to answer the phone, take their information, type a quick summary of the job, and then open the work order for the electrician, which they will then use to contact the client and do the requested work. So the municipal elections are happening, and it's Friday afternoon. Suddenly, I get a call from a new client who tells me that the light fixture at the polling place nearby has a light fixture that's not working. The light that's not working is located right above the booth. After getting all the basic information, the call starts pretty much like they all do. The people are not able to see the numbers they're writing on the tickets. Can you send an electrician to fix the lighting? She says in a flustered tone. Sure, ma'am. Since this seems to be urgent, I can give you the information of the electrician who's currently nearby working another job. There's also another electrician who's currently here at the office. I can ask if they're free to take a work order right now. At this point, I'm interrupted. Yes, this is very urgent. Go and talk to the one who's there right now. We're located about 15 minutes away from the polling location, so this might be faster, considering that the electrician who are currently on the job can't really just leave to do another job. So I take the phone with me and head toward the break area to talk to the other electrician. After walking around the warehouse, I find the electrician talking on his phone, most likely with another client. I do some gesturing to him, asking if he's free after his call. When I get the answer, I update the woman who's on the phone with me. The electrician is speaking to another client right now, but as soon as he finishes his call, he can call you and... At this point, I'm interrupted once again. Just take his phone and tell him that this is an emergency. The election is surely more important. There is, and I'm being serious here, a 10-second silence, as I'm feeling confused. After collecting my thoughts and realizing that she is being serious, I finally answer, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but..." I'm cut short yet again. At this point, her talking gets so fast and even more confusing. There's a lot talking about how I would not want our company to end up on the local newspaper. She actually mentioned some bigger ones too, but oh well, for not offering the proper service and thus ruining the election. After more silence and awkward answers, I finally give her the information of the electrician who's working nearby with the promise of also following through with the one who's currently on the phone. She also asks for contact info of my supervisor, which I also give her, because I have to. So the phone call ends and the electrician comes over to the office after finishing his call. I give him the summary of the job, and as I'm doing that, the electrician who's with me gets a call from my supervisor. He collects his equipment and leaves to do the work order at the polling place. After an hour or so, he returns from the job and I ask him how it went. Apparently, the woman had contacted pretty much every company in the area that offers the electrician services. So when our electrician arrived at the venue, there were a total of 6 guys from different companies and already running around fixing a single light fixture. In the end, the light bulb was not screwed in tight enough. The janitor of the venue had changed all the light bulbs before the booths opened, leaving that single light bulb loose. What I heard is that the woman had threatened multiple local companies at the site about their slow response and unprofessional behavior. I know that the municipal elections are a big deal, but I have never before thought that the organizers are under so much stress they would act like this. I guess it was just a matter of time before I encountered a customer like this, but the scale of this? Damn. Edit. I did drop by the guy who writes our invoices as I was leaving for the day. All the companies will most likely charge all their working hours rounded up because of all the time wasted. What surprised me, though, was that the organizers told everyone at the site to direct their invoices to the venue owner. Apparently, it was his fault for not following through with the preparations properly. Whether he's the one who has to pay for this fiasco or if he then forwards it to the organizers after is something we'll probably never find out. And our second story. Most expensive tip ever. Nearly 15 years ago, I went to work for a company. The intent was for me to complete a project in quality and then move over into program management, but someone quit and I was asked to fill in as a customer quality engineer. This meant that every month I traveled to customer sites, did the first pass of analysis of our defective products, and got yelled at. A lot. It sucked. Also worth mentioning, our branch of the company was too small to use the corporate travel, so for every trip I was scouring discount travel sites to find the cheapest flight, hotel, car. I was ridiculously vigorous in seeking best prices. If the crappiest crapbox car was $32 a day and the not-so-crappy car was $34 a day, I picked the $32 a day car to save the company $2 a day. One fine trip, several months in, was spectacularly awful. Not only did I have a truly terrible car, the hotel was all new depths of yuck. My shoes stuck to the carpet in my room, and the security flipper thing on the door was plastic. Also, it was in the worst part of town, and I worried about my safety to the point that I ended up pulling the little couch over to block the door and sleeping on it. Adding to my misery, I was sick. I had some creeping crud that plugged my sinuses and made me long for death. Normally, I'd have canceled the trip, but the customer was in an uproar about our continued repeating defects and required someone to be there. I made this trek every month, and once during every trip, I would eat at the local Outback Steakhouse. It was a known quantity, and the people who worked there were great, and it helped me to have that connection. On this particular trip, I made my way to the Outback for dinner, and I was clearly sick and miserable, and the workers took care of me. They sat me next to the fireplace, brought me tea, and had the kitchen make me chicken noodle soup, even though it wasn't on the menu. I nearly cried, I was so grateful. My bill for dinner was less than $10, so I charged $20. Yes, more than 100% tip, but their kindness kept me going. I got home, did my expense report, and turned it in. My director called me into his office and screamed at me about how the corporate policy was 10% tip and it should never exceed 15%, and what was wrong with me for paying them so much. Remember, total bill, including excessive tip, was $20. It broke me. Well, it shattered my loyalty to the company's bottom line. So I made them give me the corporate travel policy where the tip policy was outlined, and from that moment on, I followed the corporate travel policy exactly. No more crapbox $32 a day cars. I'm in midsize or better. No more flying out at 4 a.m. in the center seat. The flights fit my schedule, and I sat where I wanted. No more scary hotels in the worst part of town. Now I'm staying at the nicest executive hotel allowed by the policy. The cost of my trips were pretty regularly double or triple what they had been, adding up to thousands of dollars a year, but I never disobeyed their allowable tip policy again. The true irony, their corporate tip policy actually had verbiage that said exceptional service could be recognized with an additional gratuity, but basically don't make a habit of it. Also, the allowable per diem was $50 a day, and a receipt was only required if over that amount, so the tip that started the whole thing was within per diem, allowable for exceptional service, and the receipt for it had not been necessary. Lesson learned. Never sacrifice or compromise your well-being for a company. And our last story. The HOA does not allow our families to use the common area that used to be a tennis court. My family's lived in this neighborhood for 20 years, and for the most part, I don't mind the HOA. When the neighborhood was developed, it included a single tennis court and clubhouse. As a tennis player, this was a motivating factor in buying our home. Zero money from our HOA dues was put into the maintenance of the tennis court, despite my repeated efforts as a board member, and over the years it's degraded into an asphalt slab surrounded by a fence that occasionally gets overgrown until the lawn care folks take a whack at the weeds and growth. The court's been unusable for tennis for several years. The HOA also debated for years about what to do with this common space. The HOA can't afford to repair the court, they can't afford to replace the court, and they can't afford to tear it out. It just sits. The overgrowth makes it a scar on our community. Someone from the HOA eventually put a chain and lock on the gate, preventing anyone from using what was left of the space, as well as anyone from cleaning up the weeds, brush, growth taking over. Fast forward a year or so, as property ownership continues to change hands between generations, more families with younger children are moving in. And as parents of a 10-year-old, we welcome this, and these families seem to be like-minded in wanting the common areas where kids can play outside to be well-maintained as directed by the covenants. This past Christmas, our son and 2 of his friends got these Razor drift cards, the crazy cart shift. They go a whopping 8 miles per hour, run on battery, and the boys have an absolute blast riding them. The families talked about it and thought the old tennis court would be a great safe place for the kids to ride their carts. It's literally just like a parking lot at this point. No tennis surface left, just a fence around asphalt. We asked one of the HOA members if we could get a key. They said sure. We spent 6 hours one Saturday cleaning up the space, getting rid of weeds, cutting back overgrowth, bagging up leaves, etc., making it not look like a jungle. So a couple days a week, we'd take the boys to the tennis court, let them ride their carts for about 20 to 30 minutes, play soccer, play catch with the baseball, even let the dogs run around inside the fence, etc. It was great. Some neighbors even came out to say hi, and everyone was being very friendly. We really encourage our kids to play outside, and it's important for us to get them away from the electronics and be active. Then one day, the HOA president comes by and tells us that someone has complained about you guys using the court. What? In his words, they aren't even someone who gets out much. They just drove by a few times, saw you, and complained. Okay, whatever. Some people just don't like to see others happy and playing. Fast forward 1 month, and each of us get a hold harmless agreement in the mail that they want us to sign to continue to use the property. This is where we start to get annoyed. If all the agreement said was you promise not to sue the association if anyone gets hurt, then we would have signed it and moved on, even though no one was ever asked to sign anything to play tennis in this space. But that's not all it said. It also said that we would be responsible for maintaining the lock on the gate, and that if anyone were to gain entry to the space, that we would be responsible. It was worded so that we're now the caretakers of this space and would be held liable. Who's to say that if someone won't climb the fence, break an ankle, then it becomes our responsibility? No way. It was too much. So we refused to sign it. We don't tell them we're going to sign it, we just don't respond. Coincidentally, the weather has warmed up and the kids have moved on to swimming, trampoline, sprinklers, bikes, etc. They just didn't want to go ride their carts until yesterday. It's a holiday weekend, the kids are having fun, and they asked to go to the tennis court. We head up there, and there's a new combination lock on the gate. Our key that we were given is no longer usable, and we're locked out. What was strange to us is after the initial complaint, we offered to go to the next board meeting to answer any questions or address concerns, and the HOA president said, no, you can just tell me, and I'll share it with the board. To me, that's sketchy, and I don't want anyone speaking on my behalf in a situation like this. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.